Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I had a whole bunch of people send me this story, including Zachary. Thank you very much. From roadandtrack.com, which is an organization I think I wrote for at one time. Joe Kucinski writes, Florida woman calls 911 on herself while trying to steal a car. Yeah, a Florida woman was arrested last weekend after calling 911 on herself while attempting to steal a car, according to police. She allegedly told officers that it was part of her video game training and is facing trespassing charges. Now, this is one of those things where you, like, every time there's a sentence, you now have two questions. The more you read, the more questions you have. How do you train for a video game by doing things in real life? Because most of the video games I've seen, while they do tend to mimic what happens in life, doing it in real life wouldn't help you in the video game. But also trespassing charges. So their argument, I guess, is at the very least, she went onto private property in an attempt to do something she would not have been welcome to do. So she's 37 years old, and she just wanted to let the authorities know that she was attempting to steal a car, according to the Lee County Sheriff's Office. On the recording of the 911 call, she admits to what is, at best, a bizarre scenario. And here is the quote. I will give you the quote. Because I'm trying to steal a car that's not legally mine. So y'all better come make a report. And the 911 operator responded with, yes, I'm reporting this. Because I'm trying to steal a car. Remember when you call 911, they often start with, what's your emergency? So I guess we can imagine the conversation went like this. 911, what's your emergency? Because I'm trying to steal a car, it's not legally mine. So y'all better come make a report. Now, the question is, why would there need to be a report of you trying to steal a car to train yourself for a video game? Unless the video game, and maybe they're so realistic now that when you steal a car, you get a police report. I don't know. Police arrived at the dealership parking lot. She's doing this from a dealership parking lot. And they found her exiting the driver's side of a Toyota Corolla that she was apparently trying to steal. While being arrested and charged with trespassing, she told the responding officers that she was training for the video game Call of Duty Black Ops. She wanted to notify the police so that she could steal the car legally. And that is a conundrum, which we'll get to in a second. So this was not the first time that she's been in trouble with the law. She has a criminal history. It includes petty theft, robbery, and aggravated battery. The question is, how good is she at Call of Duty? Because maybe all that's training. This seems to be the first time she actually called the police on herself. However, calling the police and reporting your own crime is next level questionable. Although we are sure the car dealership was happy that it played out that way. And of course, the police would love it if everybody out there would just simply narc themselves out and make it easier for them. So, okay, what's your address and what are you doing now that's illegal? Okay, we'll send a troop, officer right over there and write you up for that. And so what's weird about this, we've actually heard of stories. I remember a story going around a couple years ago about a guy who was hired to test the security of a system, and he was hired as a consultant, and so he hacked into the system, and then they arrested him for hacking into the system. And of course, you're going to say, but Steve, how do we know? Maybe somebody else hired him. Maybe, but those kinds of things are possible, but you got to be real careful. But the idea that you're training yourself for a video game does, and again, I don't know, maybe somebody can tell me, does the video game Call of Duty Black Ops involve stealing civilian cars from, in essence, car dealerships? And so she also said, I'm trying to steal a car that's not legally mine. And some people have already caught the fact that's sort of like a double negative, or it's redundant, because if you're stealing it, it's not yours. If it's yours, you wouldn't be stealing it. You'd simply be taking your own car, right? And so I've often joked with people that sometimes some of these things seem odd. A no trespassing sign would appear to be, until you hear the explanation, redundant, because if there was trespassing allowed, it wouldn't be trespassing. So the signs usually should say things like keep out private property, no trespassing, but also some states require you to post signs saying no trespassing to make sure people are clear that the property is private and not public. Okay? Because in some states, if it's not posted and you go onto it, somebody's got to walk up and say, excuse me, you are on private property. You are not allowed here, get out. And so the sign can serve that purpose. However, for her to call and say, I'm stealing a car that's not technically mine, well, if it was yours, it wouldn't be theft, right? And so I've watched a lot of these police videos on YouTube. It's I'll admit, it's a habit I can't kick. It's at least once a day I spend 10, 15 minutes watching a couple of arrest videos. And it's unfortunate that once in a while, the really, really extreme ones, you're watching somebody get arrested and you're asking yourself, is this person okay? They may have been breaking the law, but they don't appear to be all there, if you know what I mean. And so we often hear about people who are charged with extremely heinous crimes pleading insanity. And whether or not that applies depends on the case. But I've seen so many low-level crimes where I'm watching it going, wow, just show that to a jury and tell the jury that your client's insane. I mean, that your client's not well. And I don't necessarily mean that somebody is criminally insane like, a villain from a comic book. I'm talking about somebody where they're talking and they're babbling and rambling and saying things that are so out there that that person isn't on their meds or they're hopped up on something. I don't know. And so this is one where I wonder about that. I wonder if you were to sit this woman down in a room and then if you were able to go in and not know any of the story and just start talking to her, would she make sense? Because I have a sneaky feeling she wouldn't. But I'm basing this on the one quote and then a couple other hearsay statements. The police said, well, she told us this, she told us that. And again, for all we know, that could all be wrong. Or maybe if you saw her, she'd appear to be totally rational. I don't know. But 911, what's your emergency? I'm trying to steal a car that's not legally mine. So y'all better come make a report. And the 911 operator said, I'm reporting this. So the question is, if you're stealing a car, come make a report. Wouldn't it be, I'm stealing a car, come stop me and arrest me? Also, where does she get the idea from that what happens when you break the law is they make a report? No, they arrest people. Then they make a report. The paperwork is not the fun part of being a cop. It's catching the bad guys. That's the fun part. So this is a strange story. Zach or anybody else, thank you very much for sending this to me. And of course, it's Florida woman trying to get up there on a scoreboard with Florida man. But again, for those of you who think I'm picking on Florida, because I'm not, I made fun last week of Michigan man who zoomed into a court hearing from behind the wheel of a car when he was being charged with driving while license suspended. It turns out he never actually had a license to suspend. But that's another story altogether. But it didn't happen in Florida, as we all know. Florida woman calls 911 on herself while trying to steal a car, and she said she was doing it as part of her training. And again, why do you need to train for a video game? Training for the video game Call of Duty Black Ops. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. In the end, you will talk more about the journey and not the destination.